Here Be Dragons Into the Unknown is on Kickstarter now, and here to tell us a little bit more about it are the creators Kim Jansson and Kim Åberg. I hope I did not butcher your names too badly. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, very well. Yeah, we're doing just fine, and you didn't butcher our
I'm,
names.
I'm
You
glad.
did really good, actually. Very
Thank you.
impressed.
The game's on Kickstarter now. How is the Kickstarter going in your eyes? Are you happy with how things are going?
Well, we've seen a steady increase of backers,
Good.
and we're trying to reach out to new groups and new forums every day
Right.
to like reach out to new people because we think that this game will uh, many people will like this game. It's just a
Absolutely.
matter of them seeing it.
That's right, and we agree because our review is already out there. We loved playing it. I'll put a link right up there to the review for those of you watching right now. But yeah, we absolutely love this game. But why don't we give you an opportunity to tell everybody watching right now what your game is all about?
Yeah, of course. So Here Be Dragons Into the Unknown is a exploration adventure game. You can say that it's strategy combined with role playing. So it's a lot of
Yes.
player immersion. That's what we tried to achieve with the game itself. We wanted a lot of player freedom, and each time you create this whole new map,
Hmm.
uh, the players will be forced to interact with each other and the game in different ways each time you play. And this is achieved by the randomly generated map, which are basically hexagon tiles that you put out each time you move around. You guys have already seen this
Oh
and play
yes.
this.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Um, and then, of course, we want the monsters to feel unique as well, because every monster in the game has unique traits. So you're going to have to hunt them down and prepare
Hmm.
in many different ways for many different encounters. We didn't want any two monsters to feel the same.
That's right.
And when we come into monsters, we can also talk about the bosses. As of now, we have the Devourer, which you guys probably met.
Yes, we
We
did.
did.
He
We did.
corrupts the lands as he comes out and starts
Yeah,
killing everything.
he's not the most pleasant guy out there, not the most pleasant dragon you could meet. But we are actually right now planning to reveal a few new bosses to the community,
Nice.
to our
Oh, awesome.
backers, to actually be able to put different scenarios for each game you play, and that will increase this replayability, this replay value even more.
That's awesome. It really does feel like an adventure game, like a good RPG. You're building up your character with better strength, better weapons, strength really in the number of dice you're going to use in battle, and we'll get into that in just a little bit. But what tell us the origin story behind this game. What made you create this game?
Yeah, so you know, we actually got into board games and tabletop a bit late in our lives. I mean, we personally, I've always liked them in a way, but I didn't like see how many there were
Hmm.
or what there were on the markets.
Sure.
So I had like these, typical child games. The Lost Diamond, I think it's called in English.
I
I don't
don't
know.
recognize that one, but yeah, your
Or,
typical games. I agree with you. I'm the same way. It wasn't until like maybe 10 or so years ago that I really started discovering all these wonderful games that we all play now that are not your typical games you'd buy like in a Walmart. You know what I mean?
no.
There's these huge game stores with all these games you've never heard of. So yeah,
Yeah.
I
And you end up
absolutely
with something
understand.
like that.
Right.
Eventually, you end up with something like that right behind you when the bug really gets you.
That's right.
Yeah, that's kind of the problem we're seeing with a hobby. It's so expensive.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
can't really stop to buy games when you realize what there is to find out there.
Yeah.
And if we go back to the backstory, I guess when we started to look deeper into the mechanics and the themes of many different games and realized what you can accomplish, we first of all we wanted to create a video game. I think
Mm.
back in the day,
Okay.
Yeah, back in the day.
we wanted to create something together because we realized we're both, equally nerdy in that way. We wanted to create something and we have the same interests.
Yeah.
And that's when we started to you know, throw around ideas.
Yeah.
And after a while, we just made up a prototype of, A4 normal papers.
Okay.
And that's like the entire story of Heavy Dragons, the starting story. We had all these cards made of normal paper. If you like blew, if you took a breath, everything flew away. That was the first prototype. But
Everyone, hold your breath. We're going to play Here Be Dragons.
hold your breath for a few hours, guys.
That is awesome. Well, I mean, at what point did it go from being an idea for a video game to being a board game then?
Well, I think I actually got you in more on the board game genre, and you liked it as well. And that was after we discussed creating a video game.
Yeah, I think so. It's we don't have the knowledge to do a video game, so
Yeah, you had paper lying around, so
Yeah. I mean, we had a lot of ideas for everything, and didn't really think that we had the resources or knowledge, as Kim says, to create a video game. But we still wanted our ideas to go out there in some medium, and we thought that board games was a really awesome way to get it out there.
That's
and
awesome.
we're happy that we did, because now we're sitting here with this game, and hopefully people will enjoy it as much as we do.
Well, it's interesting because that you say it originated as a video game, because I don't know if you're aware, but just recently a video game by the same title just released as well on the Switch. It's called Here Be Dragons. It's a completely different game from yours. But it's interesting that you mentioned your idea was originally a video game, and here comes a video game of the same title right now. So that's quite a coincidence.
Yeah, that's actually true. I mean, we've seen a few projects pop up here and there with the same name.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think because when we first created it, it was actually going to be called something else. Our first name for the game was King's Hand.
Okay.
okay.
So that was like the first project name, but and we had some other mechanics in there as well. You passed around a first player token, and the first player token was called the King's Hand. It still ties together with the theme that we have now, because every player wanted to was supposed to be this wanted to be the King's Hand, and wanted to be the one to take over this land for the king. Later on, we renamed it to Here Be Dragons, just because of the the old terrestrial globes that they used back in the day.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
They have a lot of monsters
Yes.
illustrated on them, and the areas that were unexplored and considered dangerous. You call that Here Be Dragons, or Hixant Draconis, I think it's pronounced in Latin.
Yeah.
And we try to catch this feeling of exploration with that. And after a while, people thought, where's the dragons, guys? Where are the dragons? And we said, no, actually, it's not a game about dragons. It's a game about this old map. And that sounded so boring, and people didn't buy it. So,
Oh, no.
You had to toss a dragon or two in.
yeah.
Well, now you have the Devourer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. First of all, the Devourer was actually supposed to be a more Lovecraftian creature.
Oh.
Cthulhu-esque.
Cthulhu,
Yeah.
But we actually, it wasn't difficult for us to change that into a dragon. So now it's more of a Lovecraftian dragon.
Nice. Excellent.
Yeah, he has a good look to them.
Yeah.
So speaking of the Devourer, when you fight him, you guys have a really unique combat system, using dice almost as a health bar. Can you expand a little bit on where that idea came from, and basically how does it work?
Yeah. First of all, we actually looked around for a lot of games and thought about where can we take the inspiration from, because it's hard to come up with an entirely new mechanic that isn't out there somewhere, because there's so many games out there today.
Right.
But we wanted to take a, pretty basic form of mechanic and, put our own twist to it. And that's where this die system came in. So we actually looked at risk from the beginning.
Yeah, from the beginning.
And, where you roll dice against one another and
Yes.
compare the highest to the lowest. And then we thought, how can we bring this idea up on steroids? So we basically implemented all of these crazy traits for both players and monsters to modify these die rolls. And in Here Be Dragons, each die that players have or monsters have is actually corresponding you could say an action point. You could say how much power do you still have in the combat itself.
Yeah.
So it's all of these, all of these variables that can happen in the combat. You don't really have control of any of them, but you can have control by bringing stuff from the start, your event cards, your spells, so you can manipulate the battle in the way you want to if you're prepared.
And of course, upgrading your weapons and your armor, which give you extra dice to use during combat. So, and that's really where the role playing comes in, is building up your character so that when you enter a battle, you're entering the battle with like 8 dice, versus a monster that has maybe 5. So you're pretty much going to just kill it pretty easy. Unless you roll really bad, like I do sometimes.
Which, that's why Sean lost. He was a terrible roller.
I didn't lose anything.
All right.
Let's be real here. Actually, I did lose. So it's on Kickstarter now, and I've noticed, like, sort of mid-campaign, you went and upgraded some of your components. You've turned some of the tokens into meeples. You've got the double player board now with the indents for the tokens. What was the decision behind upgrading components mid-campaign? And tell us about the components.
Yeah, actually, we had tokens at first, and we actually thought that maybe we can put in more of our private funds. I mean, because we wanted to see these meeples come to life.
Yeah.
So I guess we put ourselves in bankruptcy, personal bankruptcy.
Oh no!
But it's because we believe in this project, and we wanted them to be in there because they look. I mean, we really like customization, and we didn't really feel that miniatures would be the right way to go for Here Be Dragons. I mean, they can be cool, and they can put in, they can contribute to the theme and to the atmosphere of the game. But for Here Be Dragons, with this entire customization that we want the player to feel themselves, we wanted to have more. The meeples worked better for that, customized wooden meeples. So we changed the player tokens, so each player can have their unique one, depending on who they feel like playing. And we also decided to change the monster tokens into our green little mascots, the elflings.
Nice.
Swords. So yeah, that was a pretty clear choice for us, when we found the right meeple design for them.
Yeah, and I think did you not also upgrade the towns and outposts into little houses and stuff? Cool.
That's right.
That's great. And the double layered player mat, which is really awesome. That's a huge, in my opinion, the double layered player mat, so that your tokens fit in and don't move around. That's one of the greatest improvements, in my opinion, because I love games that allow you to do that. They're not sliding all over the place anymore. So that was brilliant.
It feels like there's a spot for everything, a perfect spot for everything.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. You don't have to hold your breath.
That's right. You don't have to hold your breath and
Exactly.
That's right.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's gonna make. I mean, when we've played it, and someone gets their table or their leg against the table, and the cubes fall down. I mean, we don't want that.
That's right.
For our players. I
think we had to do that at one point too. We had one that fell under the table. We were out there with the flashlight looking for it.
Where'd my cube go?
kind of breaks the immersion for everyone. So we
A
didn't
little
want-
bit.
That's awesome.
So tell us a little bit about, during your playtesting stuff, what has evolved in the game? What sort of changes from that, that first paper copy, in gameplay, like rule sets and stuff like that? Do you guys have any fun playtesting stories of, some great immersion that you may have had while playing it, going through the testing?
Yeah, actually,
Besides breathing too heavily.
besides breathing too heavily, there are many things that are still in there that we wanted to have in the game that is like the heart of Here Be Dragons. And one of them is the elflings that we talked about earlier,
Right.
that green little fella.
Yeah.
So that's why it's been with us for so long. I think that's one of the monster, or the monster that has been with us the longest, actually. And that's why we have a special place for it in our hearts.
Nice.
And that's why we wanted to represent our monster tokens as well. But otherwise, a lot has changed. I mean, we started this project, it was at least 5 years ago.
No, I think so.
Or maybe 6 years ago. And, we've been playtesting it a lot, and I think there was this awesome memory that I have of it when a player that hadn't played before. I was supposed, because back then you actually had to move around to take over resource production buildings.
Okay.
And I had just found a mine, and I was like, hell yeah, I'm going to take this one. And as I was going to move into that area, there were no other players around. Maybe it was you. You were on an island far away. And suddenly you came out there with, I have the teleport spell, and just moved and took the mine in front of me.
Could have been me.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, shit, you can do that. Oh. And I just got surprised by the game that we've made ourselves. I got outmaneuvered in a game that we had created. And
Right.
that felt, it didn't feel good at first, but then it felt really cool, really awesome.
Wow.
And then you change the rule so that can never happen again.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, we have to remove that. No, that doesn't work for me.
But I'm the designer, so I didn't.
Of course.
No, we actually have that still, so you can use the teleport spell to, make the day worse for your friends out there, and just come out with these spells to, surprise the other players.
Sounds like something Tico would do.
I would absolutely do that.
So what's the future look like for Here Be Dragons? Do you hope to do expansions to it? Do you hope to add anything to the game after it's funded and out there?
Yeah, we actually had, when we designed it, we had a lot of ideas of things we had wanted to get in there. Like, yeah, but you can do all this with the water, you can do all this with the forests, and but it was too much to get into the core game.
Okay.
And it would be too much for a new player to handle. So that's why we had to put like a limit to how much how much people can take in from start without being too scared of it.
Right.
So that's why we actually decided to put it up into expansion ideas in the
Okay.
future if people want to add certain aspects that they want to see in the game. So we're planning a jungle expansion, for example, a winter expansion, a desert expansion, and a water expansion.
Wow.
And also another one with bandits as the main theme, where we wanted to improve on the diplomacy options for the players, as well as trading, and also add these new kind of monsters, the bandits, that will mess with the economy and disrupt trade routes and stuff. So, we want all of that in the game, and if people show that they actually want this game, we have to be realistic as well. We love this game, and we hope that others will as well. And if we get the opportunity actually to produce this game and get it out there to people, we will start to work on our next expansion.
That's awesome. And I agree with you. You do have a great game. I loved playing your game. I really did. It was absolutely fantastic. And we were done playing.
You lost.
And I lost. But when we were done playing, I'm like, I just want to play again. It's so
that's
great.
really great.
Yeah, it was
I mean, the next
fantastic.
time you play, it's going to look entirely different as well. I mean, when we played one day, it's like it's a big continent that you play on. The next day, it might be an archipelago,
Yeah.
like Island Kingdom. So it totally depends on how the map looks, how the players
Yeah.
will interact with each other, and that feels really awesome.
All right, so once you guys are funded, somebody catches this video, a few months down the road, you guys are, you're funded. Where is somebody going to find Here Be Dragons? Do you have plans to go into retail? Are you going to sell on your own store? Where can we pick that up following your Kickstarter?
We are planning to use both of those options, actually. We have a retailer pledge right now.
Okay.
And then it's going to be easier for retailers after the campaign to just contact us and order the amount of games, the quantity at a discounted price as well. It's a 50% discount for retailers. And we really wanted to focus on brick and mortar stores, the physical stores out there, because we think they're really important to the industry, and we want to support them.
Awesome.
So it's going to be you're going to be able to find a game at retailers all over the world, and you're also going to be able to get it from us as well.
Yeah.
Awesome. So it is on Kickstarter now, Here Be Dragons Into the Unknown. Again, it is definitely a great game. Everybody should be playing this. You can check out our review of it right here on our channel. Kim, we wish you all the best in the rest of your campaign. It's going on until November 12th, so everybody get out there and back it. Believe me, you deserve this game in your life. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us here.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for watching this, and look us up on Kickstarter, Here Be Dragons Into the Unknown. And also click this big red, I think it's going to be red, subscribe button, and subscribe to OMG Nexus. Bye guys.